Hello everyone. In this video we're going to work on the seats. Particularly, we're going to completely rebuild the front seats. So let's get started. And here's the front seats, minus the backrests. Now this one, the springs are in pretty rough shape. This has been broken. The rest of it is pretty distorted. It's got a few clips missing on it. Probably could be straightened out, but it's not worth it. Should be replaced. This one is kind of interesting. I think this wire that goes around the outside has been replaced because it's got two seams in it, and neither one of them are done factory style. Also, these two springs have been replaced. I don't know if you can see it, but they're a thicker wire diameter and they're taller. This one's also distorted pretty bad. Now the thing to keep in mind is this was reupholstered probably in the 50s or 60s. And back then these were not available new, so you had to patch them together any way you could. It looks like what happened here. This one is also pretty rough, and both springs really should be replaced. The metal parts look pretty good. I don't see much wrong with them. This one has both brackets for the front. This one has a stamped steel one on one side. Then it's got a casting or forging on the other side. I'm guessing that was replaced at some time. As you can see where the bolts for the other bracket were. And here are the front seat backrests, which are kind of in the same condition. This one, the spring set has a few broken parts. It's a little bent up. It probably could be reused if we had to, but I would recommend replacing it. This one, like the bottom cushion, a few springs have been replaced. As you can see, these two are a different diameter than these. And it's been broken here and fixed. This one definitely needs to be replaced. The frames, though, are in really good condition. The tack strip, it probably should be replaced, but that's not a problem. On this side, same story. Frame is pretty good. I don't know if this is original, but this is quite interesting. On both front seats, the front corners have a piece of vinyl folded up and nailed on. Now, I took the pieces off the other seat, unfolded them, and discovered this. This appears to be original open car top material. It's got the long short grain on it, and it's got a lining on the inside. This is quite interesting because the original grain on this material is slightly different from what they sell new. I've seen this stuff on original cars, but I've never been able to own a piece of it. So this is pretty neat. Now let's find out what kind of material is on here. Well, it's also some kind of black vinyl. It doesn't have a lining on the inside, so I'm not entirely sure what it is. But still pretty interesting. Okay, I figured out what these are. This is a piece of insulation. It's to keep the spring frame from hitting the mounting bolt and squeaking. Now, I know in other parts of the car, Ford used scrap textiles as an anti-squeak material, so this makes sense that they would use this. So I would bet that this was used originally, which is kind of some interesting trivia. Now here's the backrest support or bracket, whatever you want to call it. I've worked with many of these, but they're usually rust pitted really bad. This one, surprisingly, you can still see the machine marks in it from when it was manufactured. Another interesting thing, it's got this mark here and these here, which I thought were just damage, but the other three have the same identical marks. So this was from manufacturing, which means it was there originally, so we're going to leave them. You can even see a manufacturer's trademark on it. And one thing I'll point out on these is this part right here is what the backrest frame bottoms out on. These can wear down over time from use, and each seat can wear differently. So if you take this one and a bracket off the other seat and put the same backrest frame on them, the frame can bottom out on one of these but not the other. I've learned that the hard way. So to avoid that, I've numbered these in pairs. This one I stamped a 1 on, and the other one that came off the same seat I stamped a 1 on that. The other two I stamped a 2 on. So these really have nothing wrong with them, so we're just going to paint them and put them back on. Now this is kind of irrelevant to this project, but I'll mention it anyway. If you're trying to piece together a set of two-door sedan seats and you're looking for these, quite often you might accidentally get a pair of these. Now the Deluxe Phaeton, the convertible sedan, and the Victoria also had individual folding seats that at a glance they look kind of like a two-door sedan seat, but they're completely different and not one part interchanges. And this one is off of one of those and is a really good example of it. Now somebody welded this nut on, ignore that, but as you can see, at a glance they look the same, but compare them, dimensionally they're not even close. And the mounting holes are in different locations. Why they're this way is unknown. Now the two-door sedan was built by Ford in-house, and the Deluxe Phaeton, convertible sedan, and Victoria were outsourced to different coach builders. I can't prove this, but my theory is when Briggs Body was tooling up to build the Deluxe Phaeton, they used the two-door sedan seats as a model and built their own version of it that was dimensionally different for the different bodies it went in. And this was probably copied from this, but was made by a different manufacturer, which would explain why they look identical but do not interchange. Now to make things even more confusing, sometime during 31, the seats used in the convertible sedan were also used in the deluxe two-door sedans. So if you have a 31 deluxe two-door sedan, it may actually have these from the factory. Now some time ago I had to piece together a pair of front seats for a deluxe Phaeton, and I've known others who have had to do the same thing. And that's where I've learned a lot of this stuff, because not only these, but just about every part of the seat looks similar, but isn't. And trying to figure this stuff out can get really confusing really fast. And to make things worse, there are a number of Model A experts out there who will tell you that all Model A bucket seats are the same because Henry standardized everything, which is not only not true, it's horribly misleading. The good news is, if you're restoring a 29 two-door sedan, you don't need to worry about any of this. This is the part for those, and it's the easiest to find. So now let's go back to rebuilding these seats. Now these hinges are on the front of the seats. Two of them are still good. On one of them, both of them are broken. One was broken completely off and replaced with this. I'm guessing this is one off an early 28. I'm not sure. Now the only way to buy those new is to buy an entire seat hardware kit. So that's what I did. And if these are broken, the other side is probably not too far behind, so I bought two kits. We'll replace all of them. It's several days later. The front seat frames are now finished. Obviously, I made a new wood base for both of them. I made it out of plywood because I think this is stronger than the original design. all the metal parts, repainted them black, because that's what they were originally, and that's what the judging standards call for. The backrests, about all I did was repaint them and add a new tack strip. Pretty much, except for all this, everything else is brand new, which is pretty normal when you're rebuilding these seats. Because of the condition of the springs, I recommended the owner replace all of them for the front seats, and they did, and here they are. Now, the first time I put together a set of these seats, this really confused me, because I didn't have an original to look at. This clearly doesn't fit. Now, logically, you'd think the spring set would mount like this, but it's way too far forward. If you put it back here where it looks like it should be, it's not sitting even because it's on top of this. Well, originally, they mounted them like this, and then just smashed this down until it sat level. And if we look at the original, that's exactly the way it was done. So when it's time to install this permanently, that's what I'm going to do. I'll just hammer these down until it's level. Now, because originally it had these pieces of vinyl insulating the bolts, I kind of felt obligated to do exactly the same thing. So, got another piece of vinyl, and I'm going to attach this in the same way. Okay, I got those done. I also took a strip of vinyl and made insulation for these. Even though there didn't appear to be anything like this originally, there's still metal-to-metal contact here, so I thought it'd be a good idea to do so. And now I'll install the spring permanently. Now, just like the original, it's got these tabs around it, and these were nailed down originally, but I use wood screws. It's probably a little overkill, but it'll still work. And that's done. And now the backrest. And it fits pretty good. Now, the only thing that really holds these in is these tabs back here, and I'll have to bend these around, and then it'll be done. And that's done. Ready for the upholstery. And here's the back seat bottom cushion. Now from the condition of it, it's pretty nice, so we're probably just going to reuse it. Now this was bent up quite a bit. I removed the wire mesh and straightened it out, and it actually looks pretty good. I was just going to throw this away, but I discovered this wire is actually part of what's holding the seat together, so I straightened it out and reattached it. Now here's the wood base it was attached to, and like the spring set, it's got some age to it, but it's still pretty good, so we're probably just going to reuse that too. And here's the back seat backrest. Now, this is actually pretty nice. Can't really see anything wrong with it, so we're definitely going to reuse it. Now this wood that's attached to it, I'm going to remove it and make sure the screws are still tight, clean it up, and then put it back on. You may notice they used a piece of scrap upholstery material to attach it to the springs, which is kind of interesting. It's a few days later, and I have the back seat finished, ready to go. Now the backrest, these screws down here were loose. I had to tighten them up, and I made these new steel clamps to hold the wood on. The bottom cushion, all I did was reattach it to the wood, and that's good to go. Well, that's it for now. Now, like I said, the next big step is the upholstery, which I've already started on, and you'll probably see that in a future video. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.